All right, back at the track. Second track session this week. Earlier this week, the first session we did here at the track was a work capacity type session, mainly doing acceleration type work capacity, so shorter sprints. We used a sled, sub-maximal efforts. We weren't going all out on that, but we had really short rest periods and we were just trying to build up in volume. Today's session is going to be more focused on developing acceleration, and then we're going to end the session with a couple touches of max velocity work, so some actual like full upright sprints to end the session. The idea that I have for this session is going to be some sort of contrast work. I have an outline written down on what I would like to do, but in contrast, I mean, we're going to go from doing a acceleration with the sled to doing an acceleration without the sled, do a few sets of that, somewhere between 15 to 20 meters, and then we'll end the session with just a couple repetitions on some max velocity fly-ins. I'm going to keep the fly-in short. I'll explain as we get there on what we'll do on that. But yeah, that's going to be kind of the focus for today's session. So I'm going to do my warm-up. As I'm doing the warm-up, I'm going to start putting some ideas together on what exactly I'm going to do in terms of sets and reps on everything, and then we're going to get after it.
So what you're seeing here is just my kind of basic mobility session that I go through before I hit the track. I like to just get loose, get warm, and then get to work. So this would fall under the get loose type section. I focus on kind of opening up the hips in different ranges, focus on kind of flexing and extension through the spine, through different ranges, doing different mobility drills. But the main goal here is to just kind of get loose. If you like to static stretch, if you like to do other things, that's fine. Warm-ups really should be based off of the individual and whatever is going to make them feel like they're going to be the best prepped to start the session. So you don't necessarily need to do everything that you see me do, but these are just going to be examples. So you'll see me go through the ground-based drills, doing some different flexion extension movements, just kind of rotating the hips, doing all kind of stuff. I'll stand up, get on my feet, start doing some more mobility drills, things like high knee pulls, cradles, leg swings, and then we're going to get into our specific sprint drills, which is going to be the A drills that you've seen in previous videos that I've done. So the A walk, marches, skips, and then we're going to get straight into the actual workout session for today.
warm-up is done. We're gonna get into the first part of today's session. What we're gonna do is somewhere between 3 and 5 sets of a heavy sled sprint, followed by an acceleration bound, followed by an acceleration. So the idea that I have for this, I want heavy resistance, produce a lot of force moving some sort of heavy sled. I think I'm going to stick around 10 meters, maybe 15 on that, and be somewhere around 70% body weight. So for me, roughly about 100 kilos, that means 70 kilos on the sled. We'll do that 10 meter heavy acceleration with that sled, take about a 30-second break. Then we're gonna go into a 10 meter acceleration bound. So it's just like alternating bounds, except for we're trying to maintain a forward angle with the torso, so mimic kind of an acceleration point. And then we'll rest about 30, 45 seconds, and we'll do a 10 meter acceleration from a 3-point stance. So the sled and the acceleration bounds will be from a 2-point. The 10 meter acceleration will be from a 3-point. After we finish the 10 meter acceleration, we're gonna rest for about 3 minutes, and then 3 to 5 reps total on that. And then once we finish that last set, whether it's 3 sets, 4 sets, or 5 sets, we're gonna go into 2 max velocity sets. But we're gonna do a 10 meter build into a 10 meter all-out fly. All right, first 2 sets are done. Feels good. I think I'm gonna do 4, and then we'll move into the max velocity sets. To break this down a little bit further on what I'm trying to do with these contrasting sets is start off with a heavy load, something that you've got to produce a lot of force to move. Then you want to take that and try to produce force a little bit quicker, which is what those acceleration bounds are doing. We're kind of over exaggerating the amount of force that we put into the ground because we're bounding and we're trying to clear as much space on each of those steps as possible. And then we move into producing force at maximum intent and maximum velocity, in terms of maximum velocity within that 10 meters, by doing an acceleration. So you're kind of like producing high rates of force, producing that force a little bit quicker, and then producing that force at maximum intent. And then being able to carry that over should transfer into the ability to have a faster acceleration, to clear that first 10 meters quicker than you could previously. So the intent here is just building down that development through the first 10 and trying to be as strong and powerful. Like I said before, a lot of the mistakes people make within the first 10 meters of a sprint is they're trying to be fast. I feel I've always had my best performances when I was able to be patient and really think about pushing the ground hard and fast. And then all of a sudden you're 10, 15, 20 meters down. You haven't even realized that you've covered that much ground because you're so focused on just pushing as hard as you can. So there is an element of you want to do it quickly, but I think a lot of people overemphasize the speed part of it and they just kind of get out the gate and spin their wheels. So trying to develop the ability to just produce high amounts of force into the ground over that first 10 meters. And then the progression on this over the course of the weeks would be, we're going to start either extending it to 15 meters and then possibly 20 meters, while also taking off a little bit of weight onto the sled. That way we're kind of increasing the amount of velocity that we're going to be getting on each of those repetitions. So that's the idea that I have right now, is start off short and heavy, lighter, extend that out, and then build up into longer acceleration days, longer sled sprint days, max velocity days, that kind of stuff. Sled work's done, 4 sets total, felt really good. Now we're gonna get into max velocity work. We're gonna do 2 sets, maybe 3, depending on how they feel, but we're gonna do a 10-meter build into a 10-meter all-out sprint. So you've got a set distance that you're building up towards max velocity and a set distance in which you're measuring max velocity. So this being week number 1 of doing this work, I like to keep my build-up phase very short. That's going to dictate what max velocity I'm going to be able to hit in that 10 meters. So 10-meter build into a 10-meter sprint, even though that 10-meter sprint is going to be done at maximum intent and trying to go as fast as I possibly can, the actual velocity hit on that is still going to be below what my true max velocity is. And then we think about progressing this for the weeks to come, is we increase that distance in which we can build speed, which should allow us to hit greater max velocities as we go. So this is a great way to kind of introduce max velocity into your training. If you haven't done, true all-out sprints, you don't just go out and start sprinting 40s and 50s or 100s or whatever it might be. You want to control that velocity, and then just like we would in the weight room, let's say you want to get stronger, you add weight to the barbell in order to get stronger. Well, we add velocity to your reps in order to get faster. We're not always going to be hitting our absolute top speed because we're going to be controlling that fly-in distance with this fly that we're doing today. So a 10-meter build, 10-meter fly, let's say my max velocity I can hit on that is 20 miles an hour. If I go to a 20-meter build into a 10-meter fly, I should be able to beat that 20 miles an hour because I've got a lot more time to build up towards top speed. And then you can spread that out towards 30 meters, whatever you want to do. So that's going to be the session for the max velocity today. I'm going to use my cones. So I use a free lap cone. These got sensors. I'll have a sensor on my hip. I'm going to set these up at 10 and 20 meters. So I've got a 10-meter gate, and then I'll do my build-up, hit that fly, and I'll be able to measure that. And then as we go, I should be seeing, as I progress that fly-in zone, that 10-meter fly is starting to get faster and faster and faster, which means we're getting faster in our sprints. So that's the focus for the max Vs. I'm going to set up the cones, and then we're going to get after it. Alright, so there you have it. Set number 1, we did 113. Set number 2, we did 115. I wasn't happy with the 115, so I did a third set, which put me at 112. So that's a good overall session. I was expecting it to be somewhere between the 110s and 115s, so that's exactly what I thought was going to happen. Overall, I like the session. That combination of acceleration work and then finishing off with some max velocity was a good balance. Not too much of either, so end of the session, you still want to be able to hit some really good quality reps on that max velocity. So that's why I always give myself kind of a range. It's like I'm going to do 3 to 5 reps of this acceleration complex, and then once I get to the point where I feel like, all right, if I do another set that might start making me feel a little bit too tired, that's where I just kind of cut it off and I'll move into the next. The rest in between the sets on those max velocities, somewhere just between 2 to 3 minutes. You don't need a lot of rest when you're hitting just a 10-meter really intensive piece. So that was a fun session. I really enjoyed that. So my track sessions honestly are the most fun sessions that I do throughout the week. It's my favorite thing to do is to come to the track, do sprints. I love it more than going to the gym and doing any kind of weightlifting or anything like this is the stuff to me that I really enjoy. So I appreciate you guys watching the video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and then we'll be back in the next one.